Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today I'm going to share with you all the books I read in April. It was a good reading month overall. I feel like I'm starting to finally come out of the kind of not so great last couple of reading months that I've been having, so I definitely feel like my reading and my enjoyment of what I'm reading is on an upward trajectory at this point. So I read 7 books this month, and one of them I'm a little lukewarm about, and the more I think about it, the less I like this book. And then the other one is a recent release that I was really excited for, and unfortunately I didn't love. It's just one that is not gonna, it didn't do anything for me. It's not gonna stick with me. But other than that, I enjoyed everything else. And then there is a book in here that I'm gonna say for the end that I really, really loved. I hope you had a great reading month. Let's get into it. I'm just gonna go in the order that I've read them. Let's first start with The One by John Marrs. I've been hearing a lot of buzz about this book over the last couple of years or so, but it wasn't until I heard Nakia from Nakia's Hideaway talk about this book a few times where I was like, okay, I need to check this out now. So she is the one who really made me interested in picking it up finally. And yeah, I enjoyed this. This is my second book by John Marrs. I read The Passengers last year and I loved The Passengers. And I think in comparison to that, I definitely did not love The One anywhere near as much as The Passengers, but it was still enjoyable, and I'm still, you know, really glad I read it. For me, The One is pretty sure it's marketed as a thriller, but it didn't, I don't know, I never connected to it in that way. I never found it to be, it definitely has some twists and turns, some like, oh my God, like kind of shocking moments, but I never really gelled with it as a reader in that kind of thrilling, exciting way. In the book, the world has this dating service. By using your DNA, they compare you with the person that you are meant to be with, so your soulmate, the one. And it's this amazing kind of mind-blowing dystopian like concept, but the story is boiled down into almost like slice of life. So you're really just seeing how this concept, this thing, this dating service is affecting the lives of these different characters. And so yeah, some of them are couples, some are not, but they have all but they're all involved with this service. And over the course of the book, I just thought some of the storylines were way more interesting than others. Some just took, you know, turns that just felt a little, I don't know, a little Lifetime movie in certain situations. But what I really enjoyed about this book are all of the interesting things that you think about, because you could take part in this service, but what if your soulmate is already married? What if your soulmate doesn't live in the same country as you? So there are so many interesting situations and so many different ideas that the book brings up that I thought were really interesting, but just kind of on a couple to couple level and reading through how this service was impacting their lives, it wasn't always as interesting as I was hoping it would be. But overall, I did enjoy this. I'm glad I read it, but I would still say The Passengers so far, for me at least, is my favorite book by John Marrs. Next, I read Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. This is the new release where I was just like, what is this supposed to be doing for me? This is Fonda Lee's recent release. This is a novella that just came out, I think, yeah, towards the beginning of April. You guys know this, the Greenbone Saga is my all-time favorite fantasy series. I was just really excited to see, you know, what Fonda Lee kind of had up her sleeve next, and it was okay. This is one though that is just not, it didn't do anything for me. It's not gonna stick with me. I will say though that this book, well, at least the world felt really fleshed out while you're reading it. Like, you're reading it, and even though you're focusing on this one character and her situation, you just feel like there is this world completely beyond this situation that is just fully realized. And so I really appreciated that aspect of the story. But just as a story, I'm not really that wild about it. So in this, we are following our main character, Esther. And when she is a bit younger, she witnesses her baby brother and her mother killed by this manticore. And that kind of sets her up on her journey to become a rooker. So they tame and they control these rocks that are like these massive birds. It's obviously an extremely dangerous job, and you're putting in all of this work and effort and training for a creature that is wild and wants to be free and just is not really going to care about you and show you that same kind of like love and respect that you're putting all this time and energy into. So you see the journey of that with Esther and her rock as they, you know, she tries to train her and tame her and form this relationship, and that's the story. I I don't know what else to say. It was fine. Again, not gonna stick with me in the long term. And then next I read volumes 1 and 2 of Alice in Borderland by Hato Aso. And this is the original material for the Netflix show. I've already seen the first season of the show and I really loved that first season. So I was excited to go back and finally pick up the manga, and I really enjoyed it. Some things are a little bit different here and there, but for the most part, the show stuck to the source material. They got it right. I was surprised with even knowing what was gonna happen next, that some moments, especially in volume 2, still had me choking up a little bit. Not much really to say about this, but I did really enjoy finally experiencing the manga. If you're unfamiliar, we are following our main character Arisu in this, and he's a teenager and he's just really go with the flow. He's kind of over you know, the day-to-day life, and he's waiting for something exciting to happen. And so at the beginning of volume 1, Arisu and his friends, they find themselves in this like parallel world almost called Borderland, and you have to participate in these deadly games in order to stay in Borderland, in order to keep your life basically. And every time you beat a different game, you like will get a pass that says how long you're able to stay in Borderland without participating in another game. So it just kind of goes from there, and you have to keep finding these different games to partake in. And even though it's pretty dark, I mean, I really enjoyed reading this. I found this to be really intense, and I don't read manga at all, but just the way that like the action is conveyed, the emotions, the intensity is conveyed with the artwork in here, I thought was really well done. So I really enjoyed that, and I will definitely be continuing on with volume 3. It's great. So now let's get into the one I am very lukewarm about, and that is the Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I really do go back and forth with this. On the one hand, I thought this was enjoyable. It's very entertaining, but on the other hand, I can't figure out why this is a 4-book series. I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. I don't think it's a spoiler, but if you just want to be on the safe side, you can skip ahead to whatever time is on the screen. But I personally don't think this is a spoiler. You go through this entire book and there is no resolution. There is like the tiniest bit of information at the very last page. There's the tiniest bit of information given to you that's just is there to set up the second book. And I just found that to be so incredibly frustrating. I don't know, I didn't like that. And the puzzles in this were they were on a weird spectrum. Like some of the puzzles I was seriously thinking like, what? Like, where did that come from? And then some of the other puzzles, I was like, oh, that's convenient. It was this weird mix the entire time. In this, we're following our main character, Avery, and she's a junior in high school. And she's not rich by any means. She's living out of her car, but her entire life changes when this billionaire, Tobias Hawthorne, who she's no idea who this man is. She's never met him before in her entire life. He dies and he leaves her a lot of money, and in doing so he has cut off his family, his daughters and his 4 grandsons. But the catch is, in order for Avery, in order for the will and everything to be, I guess, valid, she has to move into the Hawthorne house. For me, I thought this book was just so unnecessarily ruined by this romance. There is just this angsty romance happening in this book. I felt like I wanted to just get more into the story and really get into the family history and really dive more into the puzzles, and just, I don't know. I really thought a lot of this was just unnecessarily bogged down with, oh, Grayson, he looks so nice today. And oh, Jameson, he's just so cute, and my heart beats so fast when I'm around him. There's a lot of money at stake. Get to the puzzles. It just felt like kind of a letdown. You go through this whole book and you're expecting answers. There's so much setup. There's so many questions. The biggest one is, why did this man leave her all of this money? I think the 4th book is coming out later this year. And, obviously I have not read books 2 and 3, but I cannot fathom why this book needs to be, or even why this story needs to be a series. It feels very cut and dry. It was okay. I feel like I was just kind of strung along for the ride, and I feel like I kind of wasted my time. What's the point of this if there is not going to be something? And I can see people who love this series being like, oh, but that's what books 2 and 3 are for. But still, book 1 could have been wrapped up and been its own thing, and then maybe I could see how that spiraled over into a books 2 and 3, but to end the way that it did and to like basically force people to read book 2 to find out what is actually going on. I don't know. That just felt a little bit cheap to me. And now let's get into Wayward by Blake Crouch. This is book 2 in the Wayward Pines trilogy. This was so good. Not as good as book 1, but this was still really good. Okay, so book 1 is Pines. I read Pines. It was my first book of 2023. I loved it. I'm still obsessing over it. Pines was fantastic. Wayward has a different feel to it because in book 1, the interest is coming from, you know, your lack of understanding what is actually going on and you just feeling like, oh my God, like, where am I? What's happening? Who are these weird people in this town? And your intrigue with book 1 is just really fueled by trying to get those answers. So once you know what's going on in Pines and you get to book 2, there's a different feel to it because now you're in the know and it's more so like, what are we going to do about it? Where do we go from here pretty much? And so this entire book is the journey of basically figuring that out. But there's so much tension, there's so much at stake, and I don't know what else to say about it because it's very easy to get into spoilers, but I just really love the way that Blake Crouch is able to create suspense, maintain suspense. Like, it really keeps you on the edge of your seat. But even though Wayward has just a slightly different feel to it, it delivered. Still really good. And I think it sets up book 3, The Last Town, perfectly. This is a mess. The end of this book is an absolute mess and I cannot wait to read book 3. If you guys are unfamiliar, in this series we are following main character Ethan Burke, who is a federal agent. And in book 1, he is sent to the town of Wayward Pines to investigate the disappearance of 2 other agents. But once he gets there, it's so weird. He can't get phone calls out. He can't reach his wife anymore. The people in the town are just so strange. It's kind of creepy. So the whole first book, you are just with Ethan trying to get these answers, trying to figure out what exactly is going on in Wayward Pines. And it really did keep me guessing the entire time. So I really loved book 1. And book 2 picks up relatively soon after book 1. And now that you know what's happening, yeah, it's, again, like I said, it's that where do we go? Where do we go from here? And the journey is messy. So I cannot wait for book 3. I love Blake Crouch's books. He author by author. And then last but not least, I finished The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This was so good. I said this in a previous video where I was just craving like a book that had a sense of adventure that just felt epic in that kind of way. Amina al-Sirafi just delivered everything I was looking for. Not to sound like a broken record, but it truly is this adventurous, like sweeping, epic seafaring story. And this is what I loved about The City of Brass. Shannon Chakraborty just has a way of transporting you. The descriptions, the scenery, everything, it just feels so vivid, so rich. The characters in this they like pop off the page. I was really just kind of blown away by how much I love this. And this, we're following Amina al-Sirafi, who is this retired captain, smuggler. She has lived a life on the sea and she's had all these adventures, and her name, she's famous. She's famous in all these lands, but depending on who you ask, they have so many different stories and rumors about what kind of the kind of person that she is. But when we meet her, she's in retirement, but somebody approaches her in her home and pulls her out with this job that she feels like she can't turn down because she owes it to one of her former crewmates. Some of this book is her going around, getting her old crew kind of back in the swing of things. And just when you meet these characters, you feel like, I don't know, you feel like already that they have shared history, that they have been through things together. The way that they talk to each other, the way that they insult each other and threaten each other, play off each other. I love that. I loved the way that they interacted with each other in this book. And again, with the sense of place in this book, there are some descriptions where I swear you could like smell what was going on. You could smell the sea and see mountains, and it just all felt so rich and beautiful. And the story itself, when Amina is trying to get back in the swing of things and get back on the water, she is leaving her daughter behind. And you, as the reader, you kind of feel that sadness that, Amina also feels from being away from her daughter because you get to know her in the beginning of the book as well. This was fantastic. I really love this book. And I think the more I keep thinking about it, the more this is gonna grow on me as the year goes on. I also love the way that this is told because Amina, she is sharing this story with a scribe. This was so good. It's just the best word I can use to describe this is just fun and adventurous, but there are some moments of just high tension and high stakes. Everything I wanted in this book, I think Shannon Chakraborty delivered on and more. Just even the themes of motherhood in this and the way that Amina speaks about it and the way that she just tries to protect her daughter from all of these, you know, from her past. It's so beautiful. It's so good. And it's historical fantasy. And I loved being in that period. It just feels so rich in culture and trading and like life on the seas. I loved it. I'm rambling, but I loved it so much. This is now one of my favorite reads of 2023. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these, and also share with me what you read in the month of April. I want to hear about it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.